Good day to you all. Greetings. And hmm, nice to be here. So, an expression from the ancient language Pali that it's translated as here and now, sometimes here and now. Literally, the literal words are um, uh, the um, the seen Dharma, the Dharma that is seen, Ditti Dhamma. And sometimes those two words are reversed. Rather than Ditti Dhamma, it says Dhamma Ditti, which is um, the seeing the Dharma. So the Dharma that's seen, or seeing the Dharma. And this points to the experiential quality of this practice. Here and now refers to really seeing the truth, seeing the Dharma, seeing phenomena, experience directly here, whether it's through the eyesight, for those who can see, through hearing, for those who can hear, through smelling, through tasting, through the tactile sensations of the body. Um, it's this direct contact, direct seeing, direct experiencing, that is where the Dharma unfolds. That's where we see the Dharma. It's not complicated. It's not, in a sense, it's not found in books or in Dharma talks. It's found in the direct perception, direct experience that we have. If we can make that direct experience direct, in a sense, unmediated by the projections we put on top of it, so that we see experience in its kind of in its rawness, without identifying with it or being for or against it or interpreting it all kinds of ways. Just the raw, basic sense experience. There's something powerful about finding ourselves at peace in our direct experience. So that's partly what we're here to do in vipassana practice, is to settle in, become centered and grounded here in our direct experience. So to begin by taking a meditative posture, a posture that maybe supports your ability to be aware at your sense doors. Heightened awareness. And even though we use this language of seeing a lot, it's the inner mind's eye. And so we sometimes close the eyes to simplify our experience. And taking a few long, slow, deep breaths, where the exhale is particularly useful for returning here where you are. Long, slow, steady exhale, where you consciously center yourself in your body, in this place where you are. And then to let your breathing return to normal. And to continue this centering, grounding, settling into here and now. As you exhale, might relax the muscles of the face, softening around the eyes, Sometimes there's a strong habit to be always looking, even when the eyes are closed, searching, wanting, fearing, and to allow the eyes to soften sometimes softens the wanting, the fear. And as you exhale, to soften the shoulders. Let them relax, and the shoulders can feel the gentle pull of gravity. Maybe in feeling the weight of your shoulders. And then softening your belly. Maybe as this belly relaxes, maybe the whole belly area can settle and down into, so your center of gravity goes lower in your torso. And then the ditti Dhamma, the Dhamma that is seen, the experience that's experienced, the sensations that are sensed. Not an interpretation, not a story, not being involved in a prediction or fear of what will happen. Not lingering with what has happened, thinking about it. But seeing if your body and mind can be ready moment by moment to be fresh, almost like renewed, as if there is no past, just this moment to experience and to know the direct experience, here and now, free of past and future. Experiencing the experience of the moment. Feeling the feelings that are here. Breathing with the breathing that is happening. Sensing the experience of breathing. One breath at a time. Staying close to the experiences that are direct, immediate, the experiences that are intimate with your five senses and with the present moment unfolding of your life, your inner life and mind. The river of life that's seen in the present moment. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, to turn your inner eye, sight, on the world around you. People in your home or in your neighborhood, your communities, friends, family, strangers. The people that you're aware of through the news or other means. And they become the Dharma that is seen, the seen Dharma. And to gaze upon others with soft and kind and easeful eyes. To gaze upon others without fear or anxiety, without desires or aversion, so that some of the best qualities of your heart have space to come forth and meet those people as you consider them. May it be that this practice we've done together benefits the lives of people we encounter this week. May the practice of mindfulness help us the best qualities of friendliness, of kindness, love, compassion, respect flow out of us in our connection with other people. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be free. And thereby may all beings also be filled with happiness. May we delight in the shared happiness that we might experience as a result. May all beings be free. Thank you. So before I begin with the Dharma talk, a few announcements. So when we finish this talk at 10:30 or so, those of you who like will switch over to a Zoom meeting, and it's going to be a community meeting for IMC, and everyone, of course, is welcome. But the topic is the reopening of IMC, being able to come here in person and practice together. And of course, that has some effect on the people who are far away, who are participating through YouTube or Zoom. But the topic mostly is about beginning to open here in August. And maybe it takes questions, hear about concerns that people have, and some of the plans we have for that, and anything else. So the Zoom link is in a few places. It's on the IMC calendar. I think you have to cut and paste it from there. It's also on the IMC What's New page, on the home page of IMC. And if you can't just click on it, you might have to, again, cut and paste, copy and paste the Zoom link. And if you need to use a password to get in, the password is metta, M-E-T-T-A. It's the Pali word for loving kindness. And also I'm going to put it here in the chat now. It's at the top of the chat as well. And it'll be at the chat, when we finish today, I'll put it at the end of the chat as well. So just so it's easy to find. And I think you can click on it from the chat. And the other announcement is that in a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, this very innovative, creative Dharma teacher named Gregory Kramer, who will be teaching for us on Zoom, kind of a modified or a kind of creative way of having a weekend retreat where there's a lot of time for practicing in daily life. And Gregory is very focused on relational practice, how we practice in our lives in relationship to each other. And he has this wonderful new book on the whole life path, which is taking the Eightfold Path and applying it to our whole life, not just meditation or some segment of our life. And it's a nice, very nice book, and so he's going to present on that in a creative way and support you through a weekend of practice and reflection. And information about that is also on the What's New on IMC's homepage, and also on the calendar. You have to register for it. So I think part of the creativity is that in the times during the weekend where we're not actually on Zoom, which is not all the time, he's going to periodically send people text messages with some Dharma teaching or practice or something, so to kind of keep us practicing and engaged outside of the Zoom session itself. So as many of you know, the word vipassana is the Pali word, the ancient word that's used for our meditation practice. Sometimes we say we do vipassana practice. And what I want to highlight is that vipassana, the root of the word passana, means to see. And the V is an emphatic prefix, so it's kind of like to see in some special way or an important way. And so some of us like to translate it as clear seeing. And then, as you know, it's often translated almost like the brand our brand of Buddhism, insight. Translated as insight, so insight meditation, and it has the word sight or seeing in it. And this ability to see is, and here we're not talking about only the physical seeing. Some people can't see, but it's the kind of the ability to perceive through any of the senses, or to be able to see through the mind's eye, the wisdom eye, the Dharma eye, which is the place in the mind where we are really present for what's happening, and there's wisdom about it. There's a penetrating understanding about what is happening here. And in fact, the experience of it's a real penetration of what's happening in our lives in the Dharma as we mature is called opening the Dharma eye, Dhamma Chakku. And so opening the Dharma eye. The and So the idea of seeing clearly. There's also when we open the Dharma eye, we see the Dharma. The Dharma, which is visible here and now, is clearly seen. And then sometimes they even talk about with the Dharma eye open, there's knowledge and vision. And for those of you who know a little bit about Hinduism or some of the yogic traditions, the word for vision is dasana, which in Sanskrit is darshana, and which is a very powerful word. And darshan is often used for sitting in the presence of a guru, where the guru is in sight, as if seeing the teacher is really powerful. And here, in this tradition, is seeing the truth, seeing the real Dharma, the experience directly, is very powerful. So knowledge and the seeing, this vision, is over and over again emphasized in this tradition. So imagine that you leave town on a hike, and leave city. You're living in a maybe metropolitan area, but there's a mountain on the edges of it. And you go for a nice long hike up in the mountains, higher and higher and higher. And if you don't like to hike, maybe there's a gondola that carries you up to the heights. But you're up to the top. And there's a kind of a, get near the top, and there's a tunnel that goes in. And you go through, or there's a big kind of, say that you get close to the top, and there's a big door, 2 doors, double doors. And you open these double doors, and you step forward onto this little bit wide ledge on the other side of the mountain. And there, on that ledge, is this vast panorama of mountain after mountain after mountain, mountain ranges, rivers, forests, birds flying, eagles flying around, hawks, clouds. You're up and high up in the mountains, so this vast sky that is so clear and broad and wide. And it can take your breath away. It's so beautiful, this natural world, and maybe in a healthy, wonderful way, you feel very small, or you feel like you're part of this amazing natural world that we live in. And but you're on this ledge looking out at it, and it's just a sense of awe. But it isn't that you want anything. You're not like leaning forward, I want that mountain, I want that mountain. And it isn't that you're identifying yourself with the scenery there, the rivers and the forest and the trees, and say, well, that's mine, or that's how I want to be, or it's just almost like the sense of self and self-concern drop away in a way that back in the city, when you knew people and they were concerned, all kinds of social concerns are operating, but here in this ledge, looking out at this amazing scene, self-concern drops away, and in fact, so there's a kind of self-forgetting. And we look across the scene, and some of this, what we see, seems dangerous. Some of the mountaintops in difference, there's a storm brewing, and there's snow up there, and you're glad you're not there, because that looks like it could be quite dangerous to be caught in that storm. But it's far away. Or you see these rushing rivers, and of course it's pastoral and wonderful from a distance, but if you were to cross that river, it would be treacherous to cross it. It's roaring down. And so you can see that some of the paths on the side of the cliff going down to the valley below are treacherous, thin little paths, and it'd be dangerous to walk down there. But you're not going down there. So the danger has no fear for you, and it's like, wow, the beauty, the pastoral nature of it, the peacefulness setting, the danger that's there, standing on a ledge and looking out and just taking it all in a peaceful, open, comfortable way, feeling secure on the ledge, not being for or against anything, just at ease, taking it all in. Then you turn around to go back, and when you turn around, you find out that you're actually on another ledge that's facing the city. And you look down the city, and some of it's quite inspiring and beautiful, and some of it is these beautiful buildings, tall buildings, and some of it clearly is treacherous and dangerous, and there's smog and fires in places in the city. There are clearly poor places that people are in squalor, and places of excessive wealth, and then but there's also the edges of the city, and beyond the edges there's this vast green plains, grasslands, and beyond that other mountains and oceans and rivers, and the city is just part of this wider, big circle, and you see it all, but you're high on this ledge, and again there's no inclination to be judging it, to be for or against it. It just all seems to be in the context of this vastness of the natural unfolding of this universe. And you sitting on the ledge just watching it. And again, even though you'll go back down to it, defining yourself by it, being caught by desires and this and that, doesn't exist. You just kind of take in this wide field. And there's a stillness and a quiet within you as you gaze out upon the scene. So maybe this analogy is pointing to the ability to be gazing out of the ledge of your eyes. If you can see, physically see, there's kind of like that's your mountaintop on your head, and the ledge is your maybe the bottom rim of your eye socket, and you're looking out. And how do you look when you look out into the world? Do you look with an agenda? Does your looking serve as the servant of your fear and anxiety, darting around looking how to make yourself safe? Does your looking, is it a servant of your desires, looking what you can get to the next thing and next things? I think that some of us, we sometimes get pulled into web surfing, and the eyes are looking and getting and going to the next thing. And they're busy. They're not at rest and at ease, just looking at the scene. Or is the seeing in the surface of what's wrong, the aversion we have? Or is the seeing, how is that seeing? Or is it just like settling on that ledge on the mountain, looking out on a scene, a natural scene, that we don't have to identify with, we don't have to judge, we don't have to have any agendas with. We just gaze peacefully with the calm eyes, with the relaxed eyes, soft eyes, taking it all in in a nice way. When I first went to practice in Thailand, I practiced in a small monastery meditation center outside of Bangkok. And it was an interesting place with a variety of things, but there was a man there, a monk, who it was explained that he was an extremely mature practitioner and a deep, deep meditator. In fact, I was told that he had attained something called Nirodha Samapatti, that he could sit in a state of suspended animation, a certain kind of state of cessation, unmoving for 7 days. He can just drop into this deep, deep state. And so I don't know about if he could actually do that, but that's what I was told. But I met him and I talked to him. And the thing that was so remarkable about him was looking into his eyes. And it wasn't like his eyes were deeply receded exactly, like physically receded. But there was something about looking at his eyes that felt like looking into this amazing depths, kind of like being on that ledge in the mountains, looking out at this huge natural scene, or looking out at the night sky, and it's just so deep and vast. There was something about looking at his eyes that I felt, wow, this man is deep. There's depth there, spaciousness there. And some of it was that his eyes were not darting around. His eyes were kind of at rest and at ease, and it wasn't like he was staring at me, but he wasn't not looking at me. His eyes were not bulging out. His eyes were not pulling back. He was just there, and there was a feeling inside I had that this man's mind is not agitated. It's at ease. And in that ease, he's just looking. And kind of like looking, and there's no one. I mean, one way it's talked about sometimes in Theravada Buddhism, which some of you might not like this kind of description, but is that all the lights were on. He was fully conscious and awake. It was like a house where all the lights were on, but no one's home. So everything was firing, everything was clearly there, but there was no place of self, no center he was holding on to, no contraction around self, me, myself, and mine. It was kind of this vast emptiness that they experienced. So to be able to see and become free is a phenomenal thing, because as we begin practicing, as we practice and we start seeing, understanding, feeling, that the way we see is all these things are sticky things are kind of stuck themselves onto the seeing. And we don't just see clearly, we see with desire, we see with fear, we see with judgment, we see with interpretations, we see with bias, we see with bias about who we are, we see about projections and ideas and identities. I'm this way, I'm that way, I have to do this, I'm supposed to do that. And all these ideas are sticky, and they stick onto the eyesight or the perception that we have. And sometimes it's really clear that they're agitating. And with an agenda, the mind is, the eyes or the perception, the hearing, whatever it is darting around and moving and wanting. And but when there's no another sticky stuff, then there's just seeing. And it's kind of like if the smog clears and the fog clears, and we see after a long time not seeing it how clear the air is, and we see the mountains in the distance we don't normally see. It isn't so much that we're seeing anything, but the absence of smog. We see the clarity. Is clarity a thing? It's not exactly a thing, but the clarity is there. The same thing can happen with the mind. The mind can become clear, and there's no self-preoccupation, self-assertion. There's no self-criticism or self-belittling. We don't have to, there's no self-apology. The self is not in the seeing and the perception. And the same thing when we turn inward. We stand on the ledge of the eyes and we look inside. And we see all kinds of things in there as we go along in practice. And sometimes it's said that self-knowledge is seldom good news, because some of what we see is we see our bias and our projections and our fears and our interpretations and our shortcomings and all kinds of things operating in there. And that can be a source of agitation. That can be fuel for continued identification, ideas, interpretations of ourselves. I'm a bad person, I'm wrong because I'm doing this, and I'm an embarrassment to the Buddhist world because I had an attachment. And but to be able to sit on the metaphoric ledge of our eyesight and look back into ourselves, just like we would look out into the natural world with this unmoving mind, with this peaceful eyesight, not darting around, not wanting and not interpreting, just looking. And of course, some of the things that you might see is maybe not your best qualities, but maybe you don't have to identify with it or do anything with it. And in fact, if you do nothing, just see it, maybe something inside will be slightly amused or slightly kind of liberated. Oh, it's just a natural phenomena. And so we're seeing what's there. And this ability to see with a kind of unmoving mind, with a mind that's at peace and at rest, that clearly sees, but is not darting around, not straining, no strain, no trying to understand, no searching, no stickiness of self, me, myself, and mine, no self in the seeing, just seeing. And there's something about the eyesight maybe hearing as well, where in the seeing and in the hearing, that itself, there's no added, the seeing itself doesn't add so much. But so we can see at some point all the stuff that we add, the judgments, the interpretations, and the desires we have. Those are all extra. And to see them as extra, but to see with this quiet, still, soft, easy eyesight, to see. The Dharma eye that is opened, that the Buddhism talks about, the Buddha talks about opening the Dharma eye, happens when there's a clear seeing, undisturbed seeing, when the mind, the eyesight or the inner eye is not agitated, it's at peace. We can just quietly gaze out on the world, quietly gaze on what's inside, to see the direct experience as things are, and we start seeing how things arise and disappear, how they come and go, how experiences are transient, and they move and flux and change. And there's something about seeing in this still, peaceful, clear seeing, how things are in flux and changing, that frees us from the identifications, the attachments, the stickiness of all these ideas and desires and feelings that go along with seeing. There's a kind of just allowing the flow, the stream of things, experiences to happen through. And to appreciate how everything is just coming and going. And in the going of it, allowing things to come and go in the going of it, then there also is this freedom from attachments, from clinging. There also is this clarity and simplicity of clear seeing, of just being at rest, at ease, on a ledge, overlooking a vast natural world, on an ledge, looking at the vast natural world that includes all the things that humans create and are part of it. And maybe be inspired, maybe be free, maybe have compassion, maybe have the heart break at some of the things we see. But there's only seeing. Or say it maybe a little bit more accurately, there's clear seeing without self caught up in the seeing. And that clear seeing makes room and space for the heart, for all other things to operate in a kind of natural way. So both literally, you might be mindful of your eyes and seeing, And see how you use your physical eyes. How often do you strain? How often are they darting around? How often are they at rest? How often are they just gazing quietly and peacefully, like you're watching a river, sitting on the bank of a river, watching the river go down, or looking at the sky, at the clouds floating, just kind of very relaxed and open, peaceful. And how much are they agitated in the service of desires and fears and aversions? And then also more deeply in the mind. Is there stuff your mind does that is sticky, that sticks itself onto your sight? And so your sight is not so clear. And what experience have you had of clear seeing? Can this idea of an unmoving mind, in a certain kind of way, an unmoving eyes that just sees without getting agitated by anything, be a reference point for you to understand and to gaze upon this inner world of how we do get caught and how we do get sticky. And then in all these complicated ways that you see when you look inward, can you discover how to look upon it with an unagitated mind, with unagitated sight? It's all nature. It's all natural phenomena coming and going. And to switch the paradigm of how we see, from we see through the lens of me, myself, and mine, and self, and I, and identity, to the other paradigm where we just see it as nature, as natural phenomena coming and going. Certainly things that we respond to and care for and take care of when it's appropriate, but without this huge, heavy filter of self, gazing upon the world, inward and outward, with eyes that are cool, not feverish, eyes that are peaceful, not agitated, eyes that are caring, not hostile. May your Dharma eye open, so thank you.